have been talking about and reach the dark web with it. So in the dark web, there are actually a couple of other networks that you cannot reach using regular browsers like Safari, Chrome, or other browsers. But you're going to need some special tools in order to access those networks. For example, in Tor network, we have .onion websites, .onion extensions, and those are actually the websites that you can find in the dark web. And you need a Tor browser in order to browse those networks. Okay? And we're going to see how to install it, and we're going to see how to make it work. So it's completely free, and in fact, it can be installed in different operating systems other than Kali Linux. You can install it in your own Windows computer, you can install it in your own Mac computer, but we're going to do it in the Kali Linux so that we can actually practice and start getting to know Kali Linux in a better way, and it will be a good practice for us. Okay, so over here, as you can see, my VPN is still working because Tor networks are actually censored in many countries. So you will need a kind of a VPN or a DNS in order to reach those networks, in order to download the Tor browser. So I left my VPN open, so if you close it for some reason, you can just start it again, and in fact, you can just try to download it without even any VPN, but I'm going to leave it open in order to be safe. Okay, and we need another thing called Tor system. Actually, it's again the same thing, but we need to install it in our Kali Linux to make sure Tor services are running smoothly in our Kali Linux as well. So in order to do that, I'm going to open a new tab because VPN is working on my other tab. Okay, and I'm going to call this apt-get install command one more time. Remember, we run this command whenever we need to install a repository, a package from Kali Linux repositories, and this time I'm going to install the Tor. Okay, so this will ask me if I want to install it, if I want to use my space and stuff. So I'm going to say -y with a space, of course, in order to just say, yeah, I'm sure I'm going to install this Tor. So once I do that, it will just give this message to me. I believe this was installed before time. So since it was installed before, it said that, yeah, it's already the newest version. And if you get any error during this, you can just say apt-get update and then just run apt-get install tor -y one more time to try it. Okay? And if it's not installed for you, it will be a couple of minutes maybe to install this. So after you're done with it, you can just close this down, okay? And just go back to your browser. So just minimize this and open your Firefox in order to just download the Tor browser. And be aware that my VPN is still working, okay? I haven't closed down the VPN. And in order to find the Tor browser website, I'm going to go for google.com. And I'm going to zoom in a little bit so you can see what I'm typing. I'm going to type Tor browser. So that's what we're looking for, Tor browser. Okay. I'm going to say Google search. It will bring me the Tor browser website in the first space like that, as you can see, along with the other million results. But torproject.org is the official website of the Tor browser. So if you go over there, it will take you to the download page. If it doesn't take you to the download page, this is what you're going to see. And be aware that these images and this design is changing rapidly in the Tor project. So if you don't see what I'm seeing right now, it doesn't matter. All you have to do is just find the download page and find your suitable image from here, like Windows, Mac, Linux, Android. Of course, since we are in Kali Linux, I'm going to go for download for Linux, okay? But if you want to install this later on your own computer, you can go for download for Windows, download for Mac. I'm going to say download for Linux this time. So even though this is a very small file, like 70, 80 megabytes, I have already downloaded it before in order not to make you wait. So all you have to do is just say okay and wait until this is finished. But I'm going to cancel this since I have already installed this before. So here we go. Just pause the video and wait until this installation is finished. I'm going to close this down and I'm going to open my downloads folder because that's where I have downloaded it, right? So if you have downloaded it in another location, just make sure you go to there with your downloads file manager system, and you're going to see a tar file over here, which is kind of a zipped file. So we're going to unzip it first. We're going to extract it from this file. In order to do that, all you have to do is just right click and scroll down like that and say extract here. So this will extract all the content to this folder. And the other thing, you can just double click on that and it will open something called Xarchiver for you. It may take a little bit time like this, okay, since there are a couple of files and folders inside of that. And the other thing, yeah, as you can see, we can see the content right now, and I can just drag and drop this to wherever I want. And the other thing that I can do is just to right click it and say open it with Xarchiver like this, okay? So it will open basically the same thing for me. However, the easiest way to do this is not to use the Xarchiver, but just to say extract here in the drop down menu. So in fact, I'm going to do that as long as I can come out of this one. Yeah, here we go. I'm going to right click it and scroll down a little bit and see extract here and just click on that. So it will take a little bit and it will extract all the contents to this current folder that we are in, and we are inside of our downloads folder, okay? So most probably we're going to see a progress bar like this, and here you go. Now when you are finished, you will see the Tor browser US folder. So if you double click on that, you can actually delete this if you want. Now we're done with it. You can double click on that to see the content of the Tor browser. So if you just double click, it doesn't work for me for some reason. So I'm going to just right click on it and I'm going to say open, okay? So here you go. Yeah, here you go, open. And we have the Tor browser setup file over here and a browser folder in which we can find the scripts of the Tor browser. So basically all we have to do is just double click on the setup file, but sometimes it doesn't work, okay? So what I will do, I'm going to just run this in the terminal so that all you can do the same thing without having any problems. So I'm going to minimize this and I'm going to open my terminal. And since my VPN is running on this page, I'm going to open a new tab. And since I want to go into the downloads folder, I'm just going to write cd downloads. Of course, if you have downloaded it in some other location, you're going to have to go over that folder by typing cd commands. I believe at this point you can do it yourself. But the default location of this download are the downloads folder. So if I run ls, I can see the Tor browser and US folder. Of course, course, I can go into that folder by writing Tor browser and hitting tab to autocomplete like that, okay? So you can do that, and here we go. We are inside of the Tor browser NUS. Now, if I run ls, I can see the browser folder, and also I can see the start Tor browser.desktop file. So this is the same file that we have seen in the Tor browser folder. If I go back to here, as you can see, it says Tor browser setup in there, even though I see the start Tor browser.desktop over there. So you don't have to do this step, but if we go to properties, and we can see Tor browser setup, but in the launcher, we can see it actually starts the start Tor browser script. So whatever we see in the terminal is the true thing, but in the folder in here, we only see the interface of it, okay? So actually, double-clicking on that is the same thing as running it from here, but sometimes this runs in a much stable way. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to say /start Tor browser.desktop. So if you see something other than start Tor browser here, you have to do the same thing, / and the name of the file. So when I do that, it will give me an error. It will say that, yeah, you shouldn't run Tor browser with root account. Since I'm root, it will give me this error. Of course, we can bypass this. So in order to do that, I'm going to open my browser, not the browser, but the browser folder in my Tor browser here, and I can see all the scripts regarding to the Tor browser. So let me make this a little bit bigger by clicking there, and you're going to have to find the start Tor browser script. So here we go, that's it, start Tor browser bash script. So this is the bash script, okay, and shell script of the browser, and actually we're going to edit it. We're going to change it in a way that it won't complain. So I'm going to right click it and say open with, and as you can see, I have a couple of options over here like Genie, LeafPad, Mousepad, and I can see all the other options as well. So LeafPad is the default one. So I'm going to go with LeafPad because I assume most of you will have the LeafPad. But if you don't see LeafPad over here, or if you don't see any other options in there as well, I'm going to show you what you can do. I'm going to come over here back to my terminal, and you can always run apt-get install Genie for installing a Genie. It's a text editor, a more advanced text editor for actually editing the scripts, or you can just run apt-get install LeafPad as well. Once you do that, you can choose it from here. I'm going to open this with LeafPad, which is the most default thing that we can see. So over here, we see the bash script of the start Tor browser thing. It's a good idea to scroll down and just wander around here a little bit, but if you haven't had any experience on programming before, it might be a little bit difficult for you to do that. Don't worry, you don't need any programming experience in order to understand what I'm doing right now. I'm going to show you the most basic way to handle this bypass thing. But we can see what happens when we run this script over here. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to find the code that actually complains about the root thing, and I'm going to delete it. So let me go to options and see if I can make this a little bit bigger so you can see it in a better way. Here we go. Yeah, it's much better. So I'm going to scroll down, and I'm going to find the message that says the Tor browser bundle should not be run as root. So you have to find the same thing in here as well. So as you can see, it starts with an if check. So this is an if statement. And it says that if this is the case, then do this. And the thing that it's doing is to complain, showing an error message to us, and then exiting, and then finishing the if with the fee block. So what we're going to do, we're going to select this, and only this one. Just make sure you select exactly the same thing that I'm selecting, and just delete it, okay? So here you go. I have already edited the script in a way that I want. So this is a fantastic opportunity for us to work with this open source things because we get to change whatever we want. Don't forget to save it and close this down, okay? And let's see. We're going to run this one more time. And here we go. Now Tor browser is started. So I'm going to minimize this, and I'm going to close this down. And here we go. We have two options. One is connect and the other one is configure. I'm going to start with connect, and it will try to connect into the Tor browser, Tor network. Okay. Since I'm working with a VPN, it may take a little bit time, but it can be actually like 4 or 5 minutes depending on your connection. But if it gets stuck at some point, then there are a couple of things you should consider doing, like going back and changing the options to connect into the Tor network. I'm going to show you how it's done. Don't worry. But just make sure that you wait until this is over, so that's at least for 5 minutes to make sure that it's working or it's not working, and then you go back and do what I'm going to do right now. So as you can see, it's stuck for me. So I'm going to say cancel, and I'm going to change the configuration of the Tor browser. Since Tor network is censored in my country, I'm going to say configure over here, okay? And as you can see, there are a couple of options like Tor is censored in my country. And if I choose that, I can see there are a couple of bridges over here. So I'm going to choose either of those and then try to connect with that configuration. And if it doesn't work, I'm going to come back here and choose another one and try to do it as long as I find a working connection, okay? Maybe turning off the VPN or turning on the VPN will work for me as well. But as you can see, it started to proceed once I chose that new configuration, and I believe this will be good for us, and we will be able to see the Tor browser in this case. And again, maybe I'm gonna have to wait like for 5 minutes over here as well, since this is the first time I'm establishing this connection. And here you go. Now I managed to establish this connection. So if you make Tor browser like this, this is what we are looking for. Okay, this is our browser. So if you come across any problems during this installation, or if you want to close the Tor browser down and open it again, you can try double-clicking on the thing that we have seen before. So what do I mean? Let me show you. I'm going to close this down, and I'm going to open my downloads folder one more time. So let me go back here and find the Tor browser, and here you go. My icon is changed, but in fact, it's actually running the same script again. So if I double click on it, it will open. If you cannot open this way, you can just run start Tor browser.desktop thing from scratch one more time. But here you go. Now we managed to install the Tor browser. Next thing we're going to do, we're going to see how we can